Thanks for tuning in and welcome back to the shop. If you're new here, this is our 2013 Mitsubishi Fuso Canter FG 4x4. We are building a camper and you are sitting on the floor. This is the camper floor and I am currently welding the front plate that's going to hold the front wall in place after I flip it over. Stick around. I'm TIG welding the front plate on the floor while it's flipped over so I don't have to do overhead TIG welding. Since I'm not overly experienced with overhead TIG, this makes it much easier. Unlike on the sides where I had it drop about a ½ inch below, the front plate welds to the face so that it's not getting in the way when the camper is being taken on and off the truck. This also gives me a lap joint, which is much easier to weld than a T-joint, even though it's a horizontal weld. I'm also doing a few vertical welds to tie the front plate to the mounting lugs. These aren't really structural welds, more like watertight welds. I really only have a little bit of welding left to do on here. Once I've done welding this onto the front, I'm going to seal the seams on the bottom using some inexpensive, off-the-shelf sealant. I'm also adding some gussets to the front mounting tabs to strengthen them laterally. Well, I believe that is it for the underside welding on the front of this truck. I do have a couple things to finish up, like the gussets that I just welded on. Once it's flipped over, I need to weld the top, but everything on the underside here should be done now. You may have noticed, a very large piece of steel clamped to this, and that is to try and prevent any bowing or warping of the floor going across this way. Most of the heat that I'm putting in on the welds on the front are actually going to try and bow it this way, or this way. So it's not really going to have too much of an impact, but I do want to help any heat that's in there kind of softening things to keep this floor straight and remove the stresses. And I can actually hear as it's cooling every once in a while, you may hear a little pop in the background, and that's things shrinking as they cool down. So hopefully they're not shrinking in the wrong direction. I just heard a pop there, not sure if you heard that. But that's it for the welding on this side. Again, once I flip it over, there's a little bit left to do here. I've got to seal these seams, and that's what I'm going to do next. And the next thing to get welded on this should be the corners and tops of the framing for the walls. When I seal the seams on the base, I'll also add some between the stitch welds on the front plate. But before I can do any of that, I need to put some stuff away. Now that I've wrapped up the welding on the front of the floor and I've cleared everything off of the floor, I've also cleared everything off the back of the truck, which means it's time to take the truck and put it back underneath the floor. I need to do that because I can't reach the middle of the floor where I need to clean out the gaps that I'm going to fill with sealant. I do apologize if the audio in this section is not as good. It's pouring rain on this roof and that kind of makes a bit of a hiss in the background. Now that I've got this back on the back of the truck and the welding is done, I've gone across with a light sanding disc and I've knocked off any high points on any of the welds. I've also gone over where the heat rise comes through from the weld on the other side, just to make sure I don't have any rough bits that are going to be gouging into the deck on the truck when it's flipped over. Now that I've sanded it all down where it needs to be, I've also swept the entire back of the truck because it makes a lot of grinder dust. My next step is going to be going across all of the grooves in between the box tube and the pans with my shop vac to get the last of the dust off. There was just a massive crack of thunder out there. I hope the power doesn't go out. If you've never used a cordless vacuum cleaner, you're missing out. These things are the best thing since sliced bread. You're not dragging around a cord. Batteries last quite a while. I did that entire thing and it hasn't even touched the battery on this. The only thing that I've found that I like better than the cordless vacuum is the cordless caulking gun. If you've run the quick math like I have, you'll realize that I have 8 seams along here that I need to seal, and they're 13 feet long each. That is 104 feet that I do not have to go like this. I am using a polyurethane adhesive sealant that I purchased at Lowe's. This is stuff that you've seen me use before. I've chosen to use the gray stuff, which says it's for concrete, versus the white or black that says it's for wood and metal. I'm not sure how much difference it actually makes. I'm not overly concerned with how adhesive it is under here. It's really just to fill the gap and make sure that it doesn't get any debris in it. If you're interested in any of the tools or products that I use, take a look at the video description. I always include more information and useful links there. As a final pass, I'm just pushing the sealant in with my finger to ensure there are no gaps, and this also helps get rid of any high spots, air bubbles, and ridges. Make sure you have good gloves or you'll end up with this mess all over your fingers. Now, the only way to know if the gray is as good as the white or black on the aluminum is to do the same thing with the 2 different colors. So I've done the inner 4 with gray, and I'm going to do the outer with white. Now, normally when I'm showing you something like this, as I'm sure you're used to, I'd speed it up a lot, but I do want you to see how quick it is using a cordless caulking gun. I have this set on the lowest speed possible because I can't move much faster than that. And it's literally this quick. Now, it's going to take a little bit to prime this because I haven't used anything out of this tube yet. Once it starts going, gotta be there. All right, here we go. I think my battery's dead. Oh, all right. This does not feel right. There we go. One of the tricks is you got to figure out ahead of time where you've got to release the trigger. This caulking gun actually reverses when you release the trigger, so there's a little bit of a suck back so you don't have a big gob of sealant coming off the end. So if you do it a little bit too late, you end up with a gob, and if you do it just in time, everything works out perfectly. I'll take a look at the timing counter on the video and show you how long it's taken me to go along this length. So again, this is 13 feet, and it's taken however many seconds are shown on the screen. You can compare that to this many feet per second. Now you may have noticed that when I started out with the white in that corner, it seemed to be taking a little bit longer than I was expecting for it to come out. And then I was wondering if my battery was dying. And that's because it seemed that the white was thicker and it was having a harder time pushing it out. And I thought, that's kind of strange, but maybe that's the difference between the white, black, and the gray. The gray came out very smoothly, and the white almost seemed to have a little bit of a grain to it, like it was sandy. I thought that's a little bit weird, but I just kept going. And then as I was finishing, I thought, I wonder what the manufacturer date is on these tubes. So I looked, and the gray tube was April of 2023. That's a couple months ago. When I finished, I pulled the white tube out and I looked down in the back, and it's September of 2020. That means this tube is 3 years old, and I bought both of these from Lowe's last week. Come on, Lowe's, I think you can do better than that. That's where that tube belongs. Now really, I'm not that concerned with the adhesive quality of this. I'm not trying to hold the aluminum together with it. I'm really just using it as a sealant in between the panels. I know it's a little annoying that I've put this on and it's 2 years past its expiry date. It is a good reminder to check the date on the tubes of any kind of adhesive or sealant that you're buying. And since very shortly I will be buying a lot of adhesive to glue the panels in place, that is definitely something that I'll be checking. That's all there is to do on the bottom of this floor. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. Throw a comment down below if you got any questions. Don't forget to share the video if you think it'll help someone. And come back next time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you then.